Let's talk about 3 signs that you need to change your marketing list today. 3 signs that indicate you need to change your wholesaling marketing list right now, not tomorrow, not the next day. What indicates you need to change it now? Guys, I am CC Garland from CC Garland Marketing. We are a full service lead generation agency where we help investors just like you, specifically wholesalers, generate leads every day so you can contract them and close on them and have a consistent pipeline that you can follow up with. If you're interested in that, please check us out by clicking the link in the description. Let's get into it. First off, I want to actually talk about what a marketing list is so we're all on the same page here. I don't want to insult your intelligence, but let's just get on the same page here, guys. So, a marketing list is a list of homeowners that you intend to reach out to, typically with texting and cold calling. You can do direct mail, but most people do the former. And you're using this list to try to actively get in touch with sellers every day. You're putting manpower behind it. And that leads me to another point, guys. You have to be marketing to your list in order to actually determine if you need to pull a new one. And you need to actually spend some time reaching out to these sellers and these homeowners, more than 1 to 2 hours for 2 to 3 days. You want to at least market to your list for a week, for at least 4 to 8 hours a day over that week to get a good indication if you actually have a solid marketing list. I typically don't make changes on my campaigns until at least 2 weeks out. That gives me enough data and KPIs to analyze to know whether or not it's truly my list that needs to be changed or if it's another issue like my cold callers not performing well. The next point I'd like to make is that we want to make sure we are dialing a sufficient amount of records. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people and they've just been very frustrated with how their campaigns have been going. And I asked them how large their list is, and they say something like 100 records, 200, 300 records. Guys, anything really below 1,000 is not cutting it. Typically, what I do is I pull 10,000 records for a month, so I don't even have to think about what's next over week after week. It's quite frustrating if I'm trying to get deals closed. I'm contacting closing attorneys. I'm dealing with all the other stuff in my wholesaling business for me having to stop to pull a new list. Typically what happens, and I'm going to be honest, it even happens with me now, guys, is I put that off. I mean, even now there's a list I have to pull in one of my markets. I think it's in Georgia, right? Not Atlanta, but it's a smaller market in Georgia. And I keep on putting it off, right? And so my cold callers keep on asking me and saying, hey, we need a new list. We need a new list. I like pulling them personally still in my company, especially for my marketing campaigns, but they've been asking me for a week. And so that should just go to show that how important your list is. And if your cold callers or your team or your agency, if they're asking for a new list and it's like within the first week and you gave them more than 1,000 records, then that's an indication with them. There's balance here, right? You don't need to pull 100,000 records, nor should you have 100 records. We want to be in the middle. And that sweet spot that I found is about having 10,000 records that you're dialing for one campaign over the course of 1 month. So let's go ahead and jump into the 3 signs that indicate you may need to change that marketing list. The first of which is what I think is the most important one, and that's how many leads you're generating daily, specifically if you're seeing a decrease in your lead flow. So I'll give you an example here. Say you're dialing in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the first week you dial your list, you have your fresh list of 10,000 sellers. The first week you're dialing, you're generating 3 leads a day with 2 cold callers. That's awesome. That's actually really decent. I suggest you should be getting about 2 to 4 leads a day per cold caller. So 3 leads, that's decent. So let's just say the next week you're generating 4 leads a day. You probably hit the sweet spot in your list. So in week 2, you're generating 4 leads a day. Then in week 3, it decreases to 1 lead a day with your 2 cold callers. And then the last week, they're getting anywhere from 0 to 1 leads a day. Let's just say they generated 2 leads a whole week. Now, what are you to do with that information? If you were watching things occur day after day, you might have freaked out on, maybe even when you started or possibly the 3rd week when you saw the leads decrease to 1 a day. But all that indicates to me is that it's just your list is reaching the end of its life cycle. I look at lists in like 4 week chunks and timelines, right? I don't pull my list once a quarter. Some people do. They'll pull like 100,000 records and just market to them. I think it's very important that we're always targeting fresh data. And you can end up going overboard to the extreme and end up pulling data every single day. You don't want to do that. That's time consuming, tedious, and also cumbersome. So what I suggest is pulling one master list for the first at the first of the month, top of the month, and market to that for 30 days. If you want to add in like niche records here and there, let's just say you got a code violations list or you found a list from the county, you could add that in, but you don't want to depend on those records because usually there's not enough records, around 10,000 records, to target to that list and those homeowners for 30 days. Like the second week or maybe even the first week, you might find a situation where your cold callers are asking you for more data. So that first sign, guys, is you're going to be wanting to look out for a decrease in lead flow. But for starters, you need to know what right looks like. And right every day when you're cold calling looks like 2 to 4 leads coming into your CRM every day per cold caller. Now, our second sign is a little bit more interactive. What I mean by that is you're going to have to communicate with your cold calling team to actually get this information from them. But usually they'll tell you, and it's this. They're experiencing high call intervals. Now, what does that mean? It's taking a long time to connect from the previous seller they got off the phone with the next seller. Guys, it's very important that you listen to your call team with this because they're the actual ones on the ground calling your list. So they're going to really know the health of it. So it's very important you listen to them and not just try to tell them what things should be, but like listen to what they're saying, what things are. And then you make adjustments based off of that. So I started noticing patterns several years back when I was calling my list. And around the fourth week, sometimes the third week, depending on the dollar we were using, but definitely after the second week, we would start having an increase in call intervals. So it may take 15 seconds or 30 seconds when you first start dialing your list for your callers to get in touch with the next seller. But over time, my friends, it may take longer. And eventually, it just doesn't make sense for you to dial it if it's taking 5 to 10 minutes to get connected to a seller. Just think they're having one phone call every 10 minutes in an hour. Guys, they're only connecting to what, 6 or 7 people maybe? Let's just say 10. And if they're dialing an 8-hour shift, that's 80 calls. That may seem like a lot, but if we have a 20% connection rate, 20% of 80 is for what? Let me do the math here quick, like guys. Forgive me, real time. So 20% of 80 is going to be 16. So they're really only going to be getting in touch with 16 sellers over the course of the day. And I know those 16 sellers won't all be motivated. You probably will only have maybe like 10% of them that are motivated. So you're looking at 1.6 leads, maybe one lead that's getting to you for that day. And you got to think, I just said 10 sellers. Imagine if they're only getting in touch with 4 or 5 and you're just dialing a dead list. You know, that's why you may not have any leads going into your inbox or your CRM, however you're getting your leads from your cold call team. That's why you may not have any leads on a day-to-day basis, guys. So it's really important to take note of that second part there, the second sign, by communicating with your team and asking them for feedback, how long it's taking them to get in touch with the next seller. And mind you, guys, some of your employees, especially if you're using Filipinos, may have trepidation with telling you this because they may feel like it's their fault. We as business owners need to open up the floor to them and allow them to explain these things to us and give them the opportunity to without jumping down their throat. Nobody likes being put on the chopping block with their head about to get cut off here, right? If they approach you. And so it's important that you just are open and honest and have like an open door policy that with your team members that makes it comfortable for them to approach you about these things because really they're helping you in the long term. So the third and final sign is if your cold callers are getting a lot of voicemails and wrong numbers. Guys, this is really a sign that you need to pull a new list. This is a dire sign, actually. If they're getting a lot of voicemails and wrong numbers, are a lot of just their dialers just going through the list and dialing and dialing and dialing over and over again. This really tells me that it's at the end of its life cycle, especially if you're getting towards week 4 or 5. Around week 2 and week 1, you shouldn't be having these issues. If you are, you need to pause your campaign because this isn't an issue. It's probably something going on with your market selection or your cold callers or your dialer settings. But in this context, guys, if you have a lot of voicemails and wrong numbers, it's time to go, because what this tells me is that you got in touch with most of the people that wanted to sell on this list. And if everybody you call is a wrong number or voicemail, it's just dialing the leftovers. It's dialing the crumbs, because how these dialers works, guys, is this. When you are calling them, it's dispoing them. This is different from dispositions with finding cash buyers to move our deals to. This is talking about the dialer disposition, like what happens after you talk to the seller. That's what that means. If you talk to the seller and they say, hey, CC, call me back in a month, that's a follow-up. And in your dialer, there will be a place where your cold caller could put either a follow-up and it will just follow up with them automatically, maybe in 2 weeks, or you could put an actual date in there. Either way, that lead, that record is coming off your dialer. So if we're at the end of our 30-day cycle and we got in touch with, let's just say 3,000 people, and we dialed a list of 10,000 sellers, and we know we have a conversion a conversion rate of 20%, meaning 20% of the people we dial we'll get in touch with. Guys, what does that tell me? We overperform. Good job. There's nothing else to do. Pause the list, stop dialing it, pull another one. All right, especially if you already generated over 50 leads on it, you did your job. You should be working a few hot leads at that point. Even if you got to the end of this list and you didn't get any leads, sorry guys, there's not much that you can do at that point. It should have generated leads, but if you're getting to this point and it's just dialing over and over and over again, there's nothing left, guys. Give it up. You got to go get some more gas for your car. I'm being serious here, guys. I've seen a lot of people waste time year after year. I'm telling you guys, there's people that entered the industry with me in 2015 and they still haven't closed a deal. They're hobbyists. I'm being serious, my friends. And this is being realistic, not idealistic. This is actually how the numbers pan out in the field. All right. This isn't speculation. This isn't me guessing. This isn't me being hopeful or wishing. This is actually what it turns out to. So if you're getting a 20% conversion rate, meaning you got in touch with 20% of your leads, out of that whole list, those 10,000 records, you should be getting at least, I would say 40 to 100 leads over the course of a month with that list. So just remember, guys, if you're dialing it and it's the 3rd or 4th month, our 3rd or 4th week out of the month, it's probably time to go. All right. It's winding down, and just know that this third sign is usually that third mark that indicates, okay, it's time for me to pull a new list. I already got in touch with all the homeowners that were interested. Obviously, you're not going to continue to follow up with the homeowners and call them that are interested and already gave you their information. So if you have 50 that came off of there and and really the list only had 50 qualified leads on it, you did your job, right? The goal isn't to get in touch with all the 10,000 people. It's to have enough people on your list to reach out to, because with that volume, you're going to have enough people that at the time you call them, they're going to be in a situation where they're going to be interested in selling, right? The more people you reach out to, the better. The fewer, people you reach out to. I mean, guys, you got to be realistic here. If you're reaching out to 100 people, you're not going to have a big opportunity to get a property under contract, regardless of how motivated your list is. So regardless if you're stacking with code violations, liens, and all this stuff, it's still the same thing. You're still going to need about 40 to 60, 70 leads, depending on your experience, to close a deal, to contract the seller. If you found this video helpful and you need help with generating leads consistently, consider giving our company, CC Garland Marketing, a shot. We are a full staffed marketing agency. We've been in business since 2018, helping investors just like you generate leads on a consistent basis. Guys, we help flippers short-term rental investors, long-term rental investors, and all in between. But we really specialize and have a special place in our heart for wholesalers because we know what it's like getting started. I mean, you really are trying to learn the business while you're generating leads. And each mistake you make is very costly as far as time, motivation, and expenses. So if you want to bypass all of that hard work and really just get the cheat code so you can just have leads in your inbox that you can just be calling and closing, give us a try. The link is in the description. We will chat with you later. Bye now.